If you've ever put off starting something new because you're afraid of how it's going to turn out, you're not alone. I do this all the time. Starting a new project can be daunting. So often, I only know the emotion or the movement or the ephemeral spirit of what I want to accomplish. But when I sit down to do it, I have no idea what concrete steps I need to take to make my idea a reality. I look at the chasm between my vision and my ability, and it makes me want to freeze, to stop, to give up before I've even started. I come face to face with all of my insecurities, and I'm afraid. But I know I have to step out because it's the only way forward. Starting a new project can feel like setting up a party when you're not even sure if anyone's going to show up. Either your vision won't show up, or your audience might not show up in the way you want them to, or you yourself won't show up. You see, every time I start a project, I'm terrified that I'm going to hate the result. And sometimes I do. When I start a video, I'm afraid it's going to flop, and sometimes it does. Sometimes the painting doesn't turn out quite the way you envisioned it. Or worse, it turns out exactly how you planned, and you realize that your plan was flawed from the start. I was going to study French for 100 hours before I went to France, but I ran out of time, so when the moment came for me to speak French in France, I froze. I failed. I was going to stretch for 100 hours to improve my flexibility, but I lost interest after about 20. I quit. I failed. I was going to do 100 garden projects, but I only did 50 of them. I half failed. I was going to process 100 pounds of clay, but I ran into a bottleneck in the process. I didn't even finish processing one full bucket of clay on time. It was a mess. But do you know what happened from all of those failures? In the art that I hate, I learned and improve my technique and problem solving through the struggle. In the video that flops, I discover what doesn't work so I can move on and try something else that does work. In the painting that was flawed from the start, I learn about what I like and don't like so I can move on and make more art that I do like in the future. In the French where I froze, I still learned so many new words and phrases in the studying. Words and phrases that I did end up using later on that same trip. In my stretching, I discovered that stretching for hours at a time is only slightly more beneficial than stretching for only a few minutes. I learned something new. In the garden projects, completing 50 projects gave me momentum to continue doing more of them. And with the muddy clay, I learned that turning out the clay onto a surface to dry was more effective than trying to let it dry in the bucket. So you see, not every setback is a complete disaster. Sometimes you need a little patience, a little perspective. There is something to be learned from every perceived failure. But if we let our fears stop us, then we have let our fears win. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live my life in fear. I want to conquer my fears, and that means picking up the brush and painting over my insecurities. It means picking up the camera when I'm not sure anyone needs or even wants to hear what I have to say. But I'm confident that stepping out, even when I'm afraid, will eventually prove my fears wrong. I will create paintings that are terrible, but eventually, I'll create something that both I and buyers will love. I will learn what kind of art brings me the most joy to create while lifting up the viewer and honoring my own creator. I will publish that novel, and then the next one, regardless of how the first one is received. Because I have stories that I think are worth telling, and I'll only get better at telling them by doing it more often. I will make a video that is wildly successful. Although I don't know, that bike one has really taken off. You are all amazing for giving it so much support. I will study a language and see visible improvement. I will set a wild goal for myself, and against all odds, I will succeed. I don't know if the fear at the start of a project will ever go away, but I do know that every time I feel the fear, and start anyway, I prove to myself that fear does not need to stop me in my tracks. When it comes to your growth, the most important person at your party is not your audience, it's not your product, it's not your vision, it's you. As long as you keep showing up to your own party, you will grow. So what fears are standing between you and your goals? And are you going to let them keep you from the goals you want to accomplish? Or are you going to step out against the dragon of your fear and realize it's actually just a story you tell yourself? A flop isn't the end of the world. A pile of mud is but a temporary disappointment, and you can actually do more than you dreamed was possible. I'd love for this post to be a chance for you to share what you've been learning about. What dream or project or vision are you afraid might fail, but do you know is still worth pursuing, worth doing? Put it in the comments down below. Let's cheer each other on to chase our goals and our dreams, from the smallest steps to the biggest leaps. Because together, we can be people who try anyway, People who fail forward, people who grow even when it's messy, people who show up to our own party. Jesus loves you, and I do too.